Hello everyone. Welcome back to our channel, Immigration Canada. My work permit is expiring soon. Is it worth starting a study program in Canada? As Canada continues to recalibrate its immigration system, many temporary foreign workers are facing a critical question. What happens when my work permit is about to expire? For some, returning home feels premature. For others, permanent residence remains within reach but time is running out. One increasingly strategic option is transitioning from a work permit to a study permit. When executed thoughtfully, this move can preserve legal status, enhance immigration competitiveness, and even unlock new permanent residence pathways. But it is not a universal solution. Studying in Canada as a former worker introduces new legal obligations, financial realities, and long-term consequences that must be clearly understood. This video explores when studying makes sense, when it does not, and how this decision could shape your PR prospects in 2026 and beyond. When transitioning to study status can be a smart immigration strategy. Returning to school is not simply a backup plan. In many cases, it can be a calculated step forward, particularly for candidates already positioned within Canada's immigration ecosystem. Pursuing a Canadian study program tends to be advantageous if you meet one or more of the following conditions. Z-notation spot: you are already eligible under a permanent residence program or have submitted an expression of interest. Z-notation spot: the credential meaningfully improves your comprehensive ranking system score or strengthens your professional profile. Z-notation spot: you are targeting a province with graduate-focused nomination streams. Z-notation spot: you need a lawful, stable way to remain in Canada while continuing PR planning. In these scenarios, studying is not about delaying the inevitable, it is about sharpening your eligibility and buying time legally. Situations where studying can backfire. Despite its benefits, transitioning to a study permit is not without risk. In some cases, it can weaken rather than strengthen your immigration position. This pathway may be ill-advised if Z-notation spot: you rely on full-time employment income to meet basic living expenses. Z-notation spot: you are not yet eligible for any PR program and plan to rely on student work hours to accumulate qualifying experience. Z-notation spot: your long-term strategy depends on obtaining a second post-graduation work permit, PGWP. Without careful planning, studying can limit income, stall work experience accumulation, and close doors rather than open them. Your PR profile does not disappear when your status changes. A common misconception among temporary residents is that changing legal status in Canada invalidates their permanent residence application. This is not true. If you have already created an express entry profile, you remain an active candidate regardless of whether you hold a work permit, study permit, or are outside Canada, provided you continue to meet program eligibility requirements and your profile remains valid. The same principle applies to many provincial nominee program streams, although some provinces impose additional criteria tied to current or past provincial residence, employment, or study history. For workers transitioning to study permits, this means one important thing: you can continue competing for PR while studying in Canada, and you can still receive an invitation to apply during your academic program. How studying can strengthen your CRS score. Canada's express entry system uses the comprehensive ranking system to evaluate candidates based on factors such as age, education, language proficiency, and work experience. Education, particularly Canadian education, plays a powerful role in this equation. Completing a post-secondary credential in Canada can increase your CRS score in 3 key ways. Z-notation spot: higher core education points. Z-notation spot: improved skill transferability combinations, education plus language or work experience. Z-notation spot: additional CRS points awarded specifically for Canadian education. Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada Awards. Z-notation spot: 15 CRS points for a completed Canadian credential of 1 or 2 years. Z-notation spot: 30 CRS points for a completed Canadian credential of 3 years or longer. When combined with strong language scores or Canadian work experience, these points can substantially shift a candidate's ranking, sometimes enough to move from almost competitive to invited. Provincial nomination, where studying can be a game changer. For many candidates, the real immigration power of studying lies not in CRS points, but in provincial nomination eligibility. A provincial nomination adds 600 CRS points to an express entry profile, effectively guaranteeing an ITA in nearly all scenarios. Several provinces actively target international graduates who studied and worked locally, making former workers who return to school exceptionally strong candidates. Notable graduate-focused pathways include Z-Notation Spot Ontario's Master's Graduate, PhD Graduate, and Employer Job Offer Streams. Z-Notation Spot British Columbia's International Graduate and Postgraduate categories. Z-Notation Spot Manitoba's Graduate Internship and Career Employment Pathways. Z-Notation Spot Nova Scotia's International Graduates in Demand Stream. However, immigration streams evolve. Some may pause invitations or adjust criteria. Anyone considering this route must monitor provincial policies closely and plan with flexibility. Study permits may become easier for some in the near future. Canada now operates under a capped international student framework, requiring many applicants to submit a provincial or territorial attestation letter as part of their study permit application. Under IRCC's 2026 to 2028 Immigration Levels Plan, approximately 155,000 new study permits will be issued annually within this cap. While this initially signaled tighter controls, recent trends suggest a more nuanced reality. Canada is currently undershooting its international student targets, with 2025 data showing declining intake and no immediate rebound. As a result, work permit holders transitioning to study status may face less competition than expected. Additionally, a significant policy shift takes effect on January 1, 2026. Z-Notation Spot Masters and PhD students enrolled at public designated learning institutions will be exempt from PAL/TL requirements. While approval is never automatic, this exemption removes a major administrative barrier, making graduate studies more accessible for qualified candidates. Beyond immigration, the career value of a Canadian credential. Even when PR is the primary goal, the long-term professional benefits of Canadian education should not be overlooked. A Canadian credential can. Z-Notation Spot improve employer recognition and hiring outcomes. Z-Notation Spot provide access to internships, co-ops, and professional networks. Z-Notation Spot support licensing and accreditation in regulated professions. These advantages often translate into stronger job stability, higher wages, and improved eligibility for future immigration programs, making education a career investment, not just an immigration tactic. The trade-offs you must weigh carefully. Despite its promise, transitioning to a study permit requires clear-eyed realism. Reduced work authorization. Moving from a work permit to a study permit typically limits off-campus work to 24 hours per week during academic sessions, with unlimited hours only during scheduled breaks. For individuals accustomed to full-time income, this shift can be financially challenging. Not all student work counts for PR. For candidates targeting the Canadian experience class, it is critical to understand that work experience gained while studying does not count toward CEC eligibility. It also does not count toward the Federal Skilled Trades Program minimum requirements. However, for the Federal Skilled Worker Program selection factors, certain student work experience may still be considered, highlighting why strategy matters. No second chance at a PGWP. The post-graduation work permit is a once-in-a-lifetime benefit. If you have already used it, completing another program will not grant you a second open work permit. Studying can still help you remain in Canada and strengthen PR prospects, but it will not recreate the same post-graduation employment runway. Final thought: strategy over panic. Returning to school should never be a reflexive decision made out of fear. It should be a deliberate, informed strategy aligned with your financial capacity, immigration eligibility, and long-term goals. For the right candidate, studying can preserve status, unlock nominations, elevate CRS scores, and reshape career trajectories. For others, it may introduce unnecessary risk. The difference lies in planning. As Canada moves toward 2026 with evolving immigration priorities, those who act strategically rather than reactively will be best positioned to turn temporary status into permanent opportunity. That is all for today in this video. Please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to push the notification bell for an upcoming video. See you later. Till then, take care.